Hey everyone, Jeff Toyster here. I'm excited to have you join me today, whether you're joining me live or you're tuning in via the recording. We're going to talk about how to learn from your experiences. Now, we will get started in about 2 minutes. So I've got a couple of things to warm us up. Very first thing I want you to think about as you're tuning in today is, what is one customer service skill that you would like to learn? We're talking about learning from our experiences and specifically learning customer service skills from experience. I'm going to share with you a proven model to do that. Now, to help you apply this model, it's helpful to think about something specific that you want to learn. So see if you can put that into your mind, use that to give yourself some context as we have our brief conversation today. Now, this is based on my customer service tip of the week for the week of January 11th, 2021. Wow. If you'd like to subscribe to my free weekly email, one tip, once per week, just go to toystersolutions.com/tips. You can subscribe for free. Your friends, your family, your colleagues, anyone can subscribe there. So please subscribe if you don't already. I'm going to share the link as well as a comment in the places where I can. LinkedIn, if you're watching this, I'll put this towards the end of the broadcast. Okay, so that's how you get the customer service tip of the week via email. And again, this week's tip is conducting after-action reviews. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper in about 1 minute, going to talk about how you can learn from your experiences. So to get us started, again, if you're just joining us via the recording or the live broadcast, I want you to think of one customer service skill you'd like to learn. Now, if you are joining us live, this is interactive. If you have questions for me, you can share them as a comment and I will respond to them as best I can during the live presentation. If you are watching via the recording, that's cool too. Leave a comment and I will periodically check those. I will respond to you as well. So we could keep this as interactive as possible. But let's get started. Again, today we're going to talk about how to learn from our experiences. And to do that, I want you to think of one of your own customer service skills that you're trying to learn. Now, keep that in mind. That's going to give you some very important context as I share with you today a very simple model. And if you really want to get nerdy about this, the trainers out there, this is Kolb's experiential learning model. Now, you don't have to write that down. I'm just going to share with you the 4 steps. In fact, we're going to walk through the 4 steps together in this very simple model. Now, before we dive in, one question I want to ask you. Where do you think you've learned most of the customer service skills you already have? And I'll give you 3 options. And if you're on the live broadcast, you can share via comment. So your 3 options are: you learned most of your skills from a training class. The second option would be you learned most of your skills from a boss or a mentor. And the third option is you learned most of your skills from your own experiences. So if you have a sense of where most of your skills have come from, share that with me in a comment. I'm curious to see what your perception is, and I'll give you just a moment to do that. If you're just joining us on the recording or the live broadcast, again, think of what is one customer service skill that you would like to learn. And we're going to use that for some context today. So if you're thinking, where did I learn most of my skills? The answer is that third option. Most of our skills we learn from our own experiences. The challenge is we don't always do a good job of using those experiences correctly to teach us valuable lessons. So I'm going to share with you today a very simple 4-step model that you can use to learn from your experiences. And if you're thinking about a specific skill you want to learn, maybe it's working with upset customers, maybe it's building rapport, maybe it's a particular situation that you find challenging or tricky, Well, this model will show you how to learn from your experiences and instantly better. Okay, so let's walk through the model together. And it starts with experience. I know this is obvious, but a lot of people try to learn customer service lessons simply by going to a class or reading a book. And those are great. I don't want to diminish how important those are. They help and we can learn a lot. But if you don't have any experience, it's really tough to learn. It's tough to test those theories out. So let me give you an example. I want to tell you about the very first customer I ever served. And I'll spoil it a little bit. It didn't go well. So when I was 16 years old, I got a job in a retail clothing store. And my very first day on the job, I had been paired up with someone who was assigned to train me. And she spent about 15 minutes showing me some of the basics when she suddenly looked at her watch. Oh, I'm going on break. You're on your own. Good luck. Now, most of you are thinking a 16-year-old with 15 minutes of training, probably not prepared. And you would be right. So I instantly got nervous. I'm thinking, I just hope I don't get any customers. Of course, I get a customer. And it's one of those customers that already seems to be a little annoyed. So he kind of walks up in a huff. And I'll never forget. He looks right at me and says, "Do you carry Dockers?" This is a brand of khaki pants. And I did not know the answer 15 minutes into my job. So I kind of nervously look around, hoping that I'll see a big sign that says Dockers. No sign. And then I look around, hoping I'll see a coworker, but I hadn't even met my coworkers yet. And we didn't wear uniforms, so we just looked like customers. And at 16, I didn't yet have the ability to stop my mouth from saying exactly what my mind was thinking. And all I could do was stammer out, "I don't know." Well, I didn't get another chance. The customer got angry. "Oh, you don't know, huh? Oh, terrible customer service. Kids these days." He turned around and he huffed and stormed out of the store. So that's an experience. It didn't go well, but it was an experience. Now, I want you to think about experiences you have that are related to the skill that you want to learn. In fact, most of us want to learn specific skills because you had an experience like mine where it didn't go well. And maybe you think you could have done something better, or maybe you just think it's just so challenging. But whatever it is, that experience is the baseline for us to build some skills. So let's go to the second part in the model. And the second part in the model is, once we've had that experience, we need to spend some time reflecting on what just happened. So reflection is key. Often, if we have an experience, we just get, and it doesn't go well, we just get frustrated. We go, "Oh, those customers, they're so difficult," or "I could have been upset at the person who was trying to train me, who did not do their job." But I need to think about myself for a moment. So the next step is reflection. I thought about this. I thought about what went wrong and why. And you can probably guess what went wrong and why. And there were three things that I spotted. Even as a 16-year-old with no experience, I knew these three things. One, I did not know our product. Now, that's fixable. I was just starting the job, but I could learn as much as I could. The second thing is, I didn't know my coworkers. Also fixable. If I had known my coworkers, I could have asked someone, "Hey, do you know the answer to this question?" And the third is, I didn't have the confidence I needed to work with the customer. I was too worried about my own issues, being nervous, being kind of left alone, not being taken care of by the person who should have been training me. So when you have an experience, and especially when it doesn't go well, if you spend some time reflecting, it's not to paint yourself as a victim, to say, "Oh, yeah, that person should have trained me, they didn't." It's really thinking more about, what did you do? What were your contributions to the situation? Was there anything that you felt you could have done better, or if not better, different? And this leads us right to the third step in the model. And the third step in the model is, I need a new concept, or I need a new idea of how I will handle the same situation in the future. Now, I notice a couple of questions are coming in, so I'm going to pause for just a moment, address a couple of the questions. If you're live, share whatever questions you have with me today. And if you're watching the replay, you can share your questions as a comment, and I will check those periodically. So one question we have is this going to be loaded to YouTube? It's already getting loaded as we speak. It will be live on Facebook. It will be, recorded on Facebook, recorded on LinkedIn, recorded on YouTube. So if you're already there, it's going to be there for you. And I think we had the same question. Another question, we'll take a little detour. Everyone wants to know customer service versus customer success. I have a whole blog post about this topic, toystersolutions.com/blog. Just type in customer success, you'll find it. But the key difference is customer service is the assistance that we provide to people who are using our products or service. Customer success is a subset of customer service. So some companies, we get confused because we have a customer service department and a customer success department. So we assume they're separate, but by definition, they are connected, very much so. Customer success is just a subset of customer service. It specifically focuses on helping our customers get maximum use and enjoyment out of our products and services. So I hope that was helpful to you. Okay, so let's talk about learning from our experiences. Where are we so far? Well, the first step, we have to have an experience. The second step, we reflect on that experience. And specifically, what went well? What didn't go well? Were there particular areas we think we could do better or different? Third step is we need a new concept. And this is where I'm thinking about my experience as a teenager. I'm nervous. It didn't go well. I felt terrible. And so really, I never wanted to feel terrible again. What could I do? And there were three things that I could do based upon my reflection. The first thing is, obviously, I had to know my product. So I made a resolution that I would know the product inside and out, backwards and forwards, as much as I could. So any question I got, do you carry Dockers? What's the best size? What's new? I would be able to answer. The second is I wanted to meet my coworkers. But not only that, I learned over time that certain coworkers were better at answering certain questions. So I figured out who was the expert in certain areas, and that was extra helpful. And the third, I realized that if I had this information, I would be more confident, even in situations where a customer might be a little upset or they asked me a question I didn't know the answer to. So that's something we have to do on our own, is really think about, what could I do different? Now, you may or may not come up with the right answers. And I want to be really clear about this. Sometimes we come up with the right answers when we do this exercise, and sometimes we don't. But there's only one way to find out if we got it right. And here's the fourth step in the model. And this is incredibly important. Step number 4 is to experiment. It's one thing for me to tell you, or it's one thing to read it in a book or see it in a video. It's another thing to do it and to try it. So let's talk about product knowledge, for example. In my experience, my reflection, hey, product knowledge was one of the reasons I did so poorly. So my new concept is I want to learn as much as we can about the product. And once I know that, then the next time I get a question, I'll be able to answer it. And I'll find out, does this work or does this not work? And of course, I found out that in general, having product knowledge is really good. But I also learned over time, there were specific types of questions that customers had, and there were reasons they were asking them. For example, the store I worked in, we sold jeans. We sold a lot of jeans, and we sold different cuts. And it could get really confusing for customers. What's the difference between straight leg and boot cut? What's the difference between regular and relaxed fit? If this is my body type, what's going to be the best fit for me? And through experimentation, I learned not only the key facts and figures about products, but I learned how to best answer those specific questions and help my customers. So I want you to think, go back to the very beginning, something I asked you at the very beginning. What is one customer service skill you want to learn? You already have an experience that probably drove you here today. But the next step is to reflect on that experience and think about specific areas you'd like to improve upon or just do differently, because whatever you did before didn't work. Now you need to come up with a new idea or a new concept, and finally, you need to experiment with it. And once you experiment with it, guess what? You've created a new experience, and we start the process all over again. So I want to remind you, if you have additional questions about this learning model, please share them, whether you're tuning in live or you're watching the replay recording. But let me tell you a little bit more about how this becomes a continuous model. So after my very first experience, poor customer service, I did not do a good job. I went through this model. I didn't know about this model, by the way. I just really am the kind of person who always kind of thinks about things. And believe it or not, I'm very introverted. So I often kind of retreat inside, think, how can I do better? So I came up with some ideas and I started experimenting. And one of the things I realized is that going back to product knowledge, for example, just knowing the facts and figures wasn't enough. Just being able to answer the questions wasn't enough. Often I had to ask customers better questions to learn more about them before I shared information. So for example, I'd get a customer come in and say, hey, can you help me find the best fit? Instead of just rattling off all the different sizes and fits and styles, I might ask, well, tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for. Is this for work? Is this more casual? Do you like something that's a little more traditional? Do you like something that's a little edgier? And based upon those questions, I was able to narrow down information and provide them an answer that was much more on target with what they were looking for. And I did this over and over and over again, and an amazing thing happened. After about 2 months, I knew the product so well. I knew my coworkers so well, but not only that, I knew all the resources and the ins and outs and different policies. I had volunteered to work when the stock truck came in, so I actually knew new product as it came in. I was one of the first to know about it. And I actually gained a ton of confidence in speaking to customers. So over 2 months, all of this happened so well that one day my manager came up to me and said, hey, Jeff, we're hiring someone and I'd like you to help train them. So here I am, I'm 16 years old, and I get my very first customer service training opportunity. And it happened because I had accidentally discovered this model. So there we go. I shared it with you in 15 minutes. I gave you some examples. I'll stick around and keep the recording going just for another minute or two if you have questions. Otherwise, if you are watching this recording after the live broadcast, again, you can share questions, comments, feedback in the comment section, and I will be looking for that, checking it periodically. And finally, if you don't already, I invite you to subscribe to the Customer Service Tip of the Week. You'll get tips like this via email, one tip via email once per week. It's an easy way to keep your skills sharp. So I want to thank you all for being part of this today. A couple of you chiming in just to say hi. John, Greg, Paul, hi to all of you. Thank you for joining me today. And again, if you have additional questions, just leave it as a comment and I will check those periodically. All right, I will sign off now. Thank you so much. Have a great week, a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.